Morning decisions. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel, maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's Omni-Shade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.
Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish Podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, June 29th, 2026. Happy Independence Day to everyone who's thrown off the shackles of British rule, and that includes Liverpool. On today's show, news, listener questions, patents, and a new survey about potential DVC member benefits. Then in our main segment, Jim continues the history of Imagineering's work on living creatures in the parks. Let's get started by bringing in the man who's thankful it's not snowing, because shoveling snow in this heat would be exhausting. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
It's going well, Lynn, but I know, snow in New Hampshire, late June, that sounds ridiculous. Here's the thing. Mount Washington, only 150 miles to the north of where I live, actually did get hit with a late spring snowstorm not 4 weeks ago.
What?
Night of May 30th, morning of May 31st. The folks who work on the at the observatory at the summit of Mount Washington, by the way, 6,288 feet up in the air, they got 5.9 inches of snow.
Oh, not even a dusting. Like that's proper snow.
Yeah, real snow. And that was a day before the month of June began. And this is why, Len, those of us who live in the great state of New Hampshire have learned never to put our snow shovels away. And to be honest, they do come in handy in July and August, if mostly to dissuade angry lady snapping turtles from climbing up on your porch and trying to lay eggs. And by the way, that really happened here at the house a year or so back.
You living in New Hampshire is like a glimpse into Mutual of Omaha's wild kingdom. Every time we talk about it, you've got snow and snapping turtles.
There we go.
Australia is probably number one for crazy wildlife and climate, but New Hampshire, solid number two there.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. So.
All right, Jim, let's do a quick shout out to our subscribers. Thanks to everyone who subscribes to the show over at patreon.com/JimHillMedia, including Dan McGillen, KJ O'Neill, Sean Embry, Jeremy VR, Jessica Mayer, and Chris, you know who you are. Jim, these are the Disney popcorn bucket designers who just released a great movie ride tribute with a lid that plays Hooray for Hollywood when opened and a spinning temple door with cursed jewels and skeletons. Sadly, management put the bucket on shelves behind a bunch of Sorcerer's Hat plush and pin trading, so no one's ever seen it. True story.
I love that story. Okay.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Folks, on to the news. The Disney Dish News is sponsored by UnlockedMagic.com from our friends at DVCRentalStore.com. Disney says the Haunted Mansion has 999 ghosts, but has anyone really ever checked? Teach your kids the importance of independent research and good math skills by visiting UnlockedMagic.com now for a discounted theme park admission at prices better than Disney's. All right, Jim. First thing first in Walt Disney World, there's a rumor going around, perhaps you've heard of it, that we should see the opening of the Magic of Disney animation at Disney's Hollywood Studios sometime around the first 2 weeks of August. What do you think about that?
Okay, I've heard things to this effect. I've also heard from folks who are actually inside the building. It's like, who when I asked them about it, did say what now?
They want it when?
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see, who wins out here.
Fantastic. Also, Disney's announced this week, because we're halfway to Christmas, dates for Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party and Jollywood Nights. Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party runs 25 dates starting on November 8th, with the last one on December 22nd. And then Jollywood Nights returns to Hollywood Studios, running on nights from November 7th, so the day before the Christmas party, through January 5th, which is actually pretty interesting. I think, Jim, this is the first time it runs into January, right?
Yeah, and more to the point, what's fascinating about this is Disney's Hollywood studio staking out turf that, even the Magic Kingdom hasn't dared to do.
First week of January.
Yeah, but the notion is that there will be enough folks who still want to see the holiday decorations, who still want a nighttime party, that, this is definitely a trial balloon, these 2 dates, and Disney will be fascinated to see how many tickets they sell, because from as it's been explained to me, January 6th is the hard out for Christmas decorations coming down at that park.
Yeah.
So it's just a notion of, okay, gonna work. You can have these dates, and let's see what the response is, and then revisit it further on down the line. And the other thing is, let's be honest here, the kingdom really can't extend Mickey's Very Merry. I mean, we're now in like the moment after Not So Scary ends, right? What is there? There 3 days, 4 days between the two events?
There's a week.
Okay.
Because the last one's on I think the 31st or maybe the 1st this year, and the first one is on the first Christmas party's on the 8th. But yeah, that's barely enough time to swap out pumpkins for
there we go.
Stockings. Yeah. The thing that I love, and Disney had put some thought into this, but the thing that I love about the schedules for both Jollywood Nights and Mickey's Very Merry is how they mesh perfectly. As an example, in November, we've got Mickey's Very Merry Christmas parties on the 12th, 13th, 15th, and 17th. And on the days that it doesn't have a party, there are Jollywood Nights on the 14th and 16th.
Yeah.
It's like, you want a party? We got something for you every night. Every night. It's like a zipper, Jim. It's beautiful.
Well, that's the other thing that the folks on a special event side were telling me, that their survey work, their after actions, reaching out to folks, the people who go to Mickey's Very Merry, once Jollywood Nights became an option, they're like, oh, well, of course, we're on vacation and we'll do that party as well. So
exactly.
This was a deliberate choice. So, just one tiny little note here. Did you notice that how are they advertising this for the Magic Kingdom? You see Mickey. On the other hand, when you look for the advertising art for Jollywood Nights, where's Ollie?
We've got the Muppets. We've got Kermit and Miss Piggy. Which
there we go.
I mean, Miss Piggy's a star in her own right. Kermit's her leading man. Those are the stars. Let's face it.
No, absolutely. That evidently the Ollie neon sign will be rolled out, but the Ollie ship has sailed from this point forward. Especially, I guess, given the response to Rock and Roller Coaster with the Muppets. It's just
I wrote it
yesterday.
No. Yeah, so here's how I think Disney should retire Ollie. I think, you remember Bambi versus Godzilla, the film?
Yes.
Animal comes into the Jollywood Nights prep room, and Ollie is there. And then it's Animal gets a little hungry. And then you just you just see the outside of the door, and with crumbs flying and stuff, and that's how we retire Ollie. Anyway,
I like that a lot. Though, speaking of gingerbread related things,
right. So this is an interesting lead into our next story. Disney announced that the Grand Floridian gingerbread house has been retired from Christmas season. It's going to be replaced by smaller displays. And that in and of itself is interesting, Jim, because of the amount of money that we think Disney makes nightly on food and bev for people coming in to see the gingerbread house from all over the Walt Disney World Resort and then Orlando, right?
Yeah. But this goes hand in hand with some other news you're sharing for this week, right?
Right. As Disney announced the Christmas displays and events that are going on the Disney Parks blog, and I put a screen cap in the show notes so everyone can look at it. One of the interesting things it says was that Christmas trees and decorations around the resorts are available, quote, for guests staying at the resorts or for those with valid dining reservations at the resorts. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the restrictions that we talked about last week, where where guests visiting Disney Springs will be required to show a reservation either for a resort or for dining to take a bus from Disney Springs to one of the Disney resorts. So this looks like the next incremental step, saying you can visit the resorts only if you're staying in Walt Disney World or you've got a dining reservation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to feel about this. I really don't, because, for example, there are families that literally book stays at the Grand Floridian to be in the hotel the night that the Christmas tree is put up there. Yeah. I mean, there are families whose tradition is, we get together, we drive over to Disney property, we go to the flow and see the gingerbread house and get some gingerbread, then hop on the monorail and visit the rest of the the decorations for the resorts there. And
right. And you can still do that. If you have any resort reservation in Walt Disney World, you can visit any other resort for now. Yeah. Like that's and I don't think that's going to change. Like I think they're trying to prevent a very specific set of access here.
I get that. I think just my concern is that, there's somebody at Disney who, put this in motion, not anticipating how social media and places like the New York Post will spin this. Disney becomes Scrooge for holiday season. These headlines, folks, write themselves, and they're about to. I'm just saying.
Right, and I've seen the social media reaction, and I understand one of the reasons that on social media, and that is this, right? You and I, when we were younger, we visited resorts that we could absolutely not afford to stay in. Like I remember going through the Contemporary Resort, seeing the monorail, and wondering to myself what kind of people got to stay there, right? And then that image for me was so powerful that it was literally the last Disney resort that I stayed at when I was doing my checking everything off the list, because it was such a monumental achievement for me. That was my capstone stay. Right. And I had no right to walk through. I'd never reservation, obviously, when I was walking through the Contemporary. And it inspired me to stay at all the resorts. And that's going to be more difficult now. I get that. Yeah. The problem is that I did that when social media wasn't a thing. And now you see on social media people who are providing tips and tricks for how to, go to the Contemporary and see the fireworks without having any reservation whatsoever. And I've talked to people both, inside Disney and Disney adjacent about this. There have been instances where people who are not resort guests and who don't even have APs, so basically randos from the Orlando area, are holding children's birthday parties at Walt Disney World resorts. Again, with nobody staying there, nobody paying for anything. Basically, show up, bring a cake, bring decorations, take up 20 seats in the pool. And no one has paid Disney a cent for any of that. And that doesn't seem like an isolated incident. So I think Disney has to take steps now to, A, prevent that from happening because it's affecting the satisfaction of people who pay to stay at the resort.
Yeah.
But also, Jim, let's think about this. Lakeshore Lodge is going to open next year.
Oh, yeah.
And it is going to have a mini water park. They need to get these rules not only in place now, but communicated so that people don't try things when that opens up, because there's going to be a ton of demand for that, right?
You're not wrong. I mean, and understanding that just in and of itself. But at the same time, it is just kind of sad to realize that, the gingerbread house has gone away at the flow.
No, it is, yeah. But imagine the amount of money that they're giving up. The guest satisfaction surveys from people actually staying at the Grand Flow must be so bad that they're willing to give up tens of thousands of dollars a night in revenue to make that better. And I get it, right? If somebody staying, at the Grand Flow for a week is paying over $1,000 a night, you would have to sell a lot of hot chocolate.
Oh, no, totally.
To make up for one bad survey from that person who says, I'm never going to stay here again because of the crowds.
And let's also be honest here. The Birdcage bar that opened there changed the available footprint for, doing things there in the lobby.
Totally valid. We'd have more space if you guys didn't build a bar there. I get that, right? Valid, yeah. But I think that here's the principle, right? I think we can all agree that if there are capacity issues, the people who are paying to stay at that specific resort are first on the priority list. And then second on the priority list is people who are paying money to Disney to stay at Disney at some other resort. And then everyone else is below that. I think we all agree on that, right?
Yeah. I just, again, you and I have talked about this off air, but basically, I'm an old fart. I remember when Dick Nunes was in charge of the Disney resorts and talked about, in fact, made a point of, we need to be a good neighbor. We need, we are a member of the Orlando community.
Yeah.
And I just feel like with moves like this, it's one of those things where it's like, we're happy to be here, but, again, you stay outside there, all right?
I'm also going to point out, Jim, and I agree with you, that was what Dick Nunes said, but Dick Nunes also punched a bunch of hippies in Disneyland. maybe we need Dick Nunes to do security at the pools.
There we go. There we go. All right. I'm suddenly on board with this idea. Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, Jim, other bit of news out of Walt Disney World. The BoardWalk is getting new afternoon and evening entertainment, likely in the old Jelly Rolls spot for later on this year. Have you seen this announcement of the entertainment destination called Hurley Burley? It's supposed to be a seaside lounge tied to the story of the BoardWalk. In the afternoons, it'll host family activities with an MC. And then in the evenings, it'll become a 21 and up club with a live band, drinks, and small plates for food.
Wow. Well, again, I'm happy to see anything in Jelly Rolls.
Yeah.
Face it, BoardWalk with that close was kind of like a smile with some teeth missing, but okay. Oh, here we go.
I think the smile with the teeth missing, that is the original theme of the clown on the pool, right?
There we go.
Okay, all right. Jim, over at Disneyland, did you see how Disney kicked off the month-long Celebrate Soulfully event with a Yardfest concert in downtown Disney featuring Mickey Mouse as a drumline major?
Oh, no.
All right. So they've got bands from America's HBCU colleges providing the music. And if you like drum lines, you cannot get better than this. It's fantastic. I watched videos of it. It looked amazing. I love that Mickey Mouse is a drumline major. If you guys are out in Anaheim over the next few days, definitely stop by to take a look at that. It looked really, really fun. And then, Jim, over at Universal, we've got 3 new Halloween Horror Nights house announcements. The first one was HR Blood and Guts Presents Halloween Fright-tacular. And this apparently is an original house based on the 2011 HHN house, Holidays of Horror. But the story that HR is at a TV studio and decides to play a bunch of low-budget Halloween films that he enjoyed as a kid. That looks like fun. The thing I like about this is, Jim, as you go through the house, the Universal creative team has come up with, these pitches for movies that never really existed, but it's their chance to I'm going to write a 1-page treatment of some schlock horror flick, and then everyone gets to see it. And to see what Universal Creative would do for an actual, blood and guts Halloween movie, if they could produce one, is really funny.
No, absolutely. Some of these, for example, what is it? The black and white zombie movie. I mean, it's leaning into classics, but again, just delivering that, as a room, as an idea. No, can't wait to see this.
The second house was called Madlands Caged Cannibals. It's an abandoned zoo that contains gangs of warring cannibals. And for some reason, you've decided to go there, and then I note ... for lunch. Get it?
All right,
fair. The third one is called Cybergoria, and apparently, at some distant future, machines try to make you live forever, even if it kills you. And here's my thing to Universal Creative.
Yep.
Dude, the tech companies can hear you. You don't need to give these people any ideas, right?
Okay. Thank you for putting that out there.
All right, Jim. Also this week, Universal Kids Resort officially opens on July 1st in Texas. Jim, as a reminder, no theme park in the history of theme parks has ever been ready for its opening day. And this one is opening in Texas in July, so keep your expectations low and your SPF high.
Absolutely.
Our friend Christina has already visited the resort. And she says it's a really nice water park with some traditional rides. No ride duration is over 90 seconds. And then Chrissy notes that the Jurassic Park play area, which is metal, wood, and rope, seems like it's going to be really, really hot. Like there's metal in the direct sun, so make sure that that's either a wrapped or you don't touch the metal parts. And Jim, you and I have been circulating with our friend Jim Scholl photos that Chrissy has taken and others have taken from around the resort. And I've included these photos in the show notes. And again, no theme park in the history of theme parks has ever been ready for its opening day. In a year or two, I'm sure this is going to be excellent. But for now, Jim, the lack of landscaping and decor makes it look like this is a theme park tribute to Soviet brutalist architecture. It is basically unadorned concrete at this point.
And look, there's the old cliche: you only have one chance to make a first impression, and I think also what backfired on Universal is they made a decision to the press opening was largely social media influencers, and nobody did Universal put it together that they get more clicks when they say negative things than when they say positive things. So it's going to be interesting going forward here to see how Universal manages this. It's still, obviously, it's a regional theme park. It'll be more about how are they advertising this in the local market? What, how many locals actually turn out? But remember, this was supposed to be Universal's answer to Legoland. And by the way, did you see that Legoland was also trolling this place? No. They got on social media and started poking fun of it as well.
So a couple of things. One, the fact that social media influencers who were invited to the event had some, I think it was relatively mild criticism of it. It wasn't, full-throated, don't go there. But the everyone knows, right, that you only get invited to these events on the expectation that you're going to say mostly good things about it, right? That's the quid pro quo here. The fact that social media influencers were willing to say bad things, you should basically multiply that by a factor of 3 for what it really meant, right? The other thing is this, and the question is how did this happen? And my guess here, I don't have any particular knowledge, but this park was under construction while Epic Universe was under construction, and Epic Universe ran over budget, right, Jim?
Oh yes, it did.
Okay. Is it fair to say that some of the money for that overrun for Epic Universe came from the kids' park?
It's entirely possible.
That's my guess. Yeah.
But at the same time, Mr. Scholl has talked about this. I mean, when it comes down to it and you're building a theme park, and you're just trying to get the place open, and things start to fall off the table, it then becomes, do I finish the ride or do I build the shade structures outside of the attraction for the queue space?
Right.
And it's just like, well, no, they need the ride. The shade structures, the park can build those after it's open.
Right. That's easier to do. That is less offensive to the guest than an unfinished ride, right?
No, that's
the
it exactly.
Yeah.
The ride works, the ride's finished, and, first year or two, no shade structures.
And speaking of that, Jim, I have a photo in the show notes of a outdoor quick service restaurant in the SpongeBob SquarePants land. Can you describe for our listeners what that photo looks like?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, it just, again, you have the themed restaurant off to the right here. And then the outdoor areas, you have what appear to be 4 tops. 3 or 4 of these placed side by side. In the direct sun, no shade, nothing. This is Texas in
July.
Yeah. You would buy an ice cream sundae, and by the time you walk to the table and sit down, you would have a bowl of soup. All right. I just don't get this. I mean, I understand you got to get it open. But they knew they were building in Texas, and the fact that so much of this is open to the sky.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to rain, so that's good, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so what we're looking at here is 6 white 4-top tables with blue chairs on a white concrete pad with a show building in the background and a teal bar fence around the back. And there's no umbrella, there's no canopy, there's no nothing. Jim, to your point, if you bought ice cream and took it to this table, I think it would sublimate from a solid to a gas so fast that we would need to investigate whether there was another state of matter that we missed in there, right? Like, I think that would happen pretty quickly. All right. So real quick, you and Jim Schull and I had some fun trading images with captions during the week. So we've got photos of various parts of the park to which we've done Soviet brutalist travel posters. So in one of them, it's the Minions water ride, and it's basically a raft ride like Kali River Rapids in a concrete trench with some yellow minions in the background. And the caption that we put on it was, "Yellow workers of the world unite." For the Jurassic World Adventure Camp, I'm not saying it looks like a prison, but the caption we have is, "The dinosaurs reject your capitalist containment." And then for Shrek, we have like one onion-shaped trash can thing in a ride.
That's
a ride vehicle?
Actually a hood ornament, Len. All right,
okay.
but yeah, I mean this in the kindest possible way, folks. That Universal will fix this. They will. This is, as Len pointed out at the top of this segment. There isn't a theme park on the planet. On opening day that's actually ready for the public.
Yeah, it'll be fine. In a year or two, it'll be fine. Just like Epic Universe. Like the Epic Universe still has another couple of years till the landscaping grows in, and they need to add some attractions and stuff like that. But there's a substantial difference from opening day to now, and they've done a good job, and they're putting money into it, right?
That's it, exactly.
These things happen, right? So
they do. They do.
Yeah.
I would just suggest, in the case of Universal Kids, I think a year and a half's a little optimistic, Len. I'd pencil in the visit, for say 2029. By then, I'm sure they'll have this under control.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine soon. Yeah, I think this will be really pleasant in the fall, winter, and spring as well.
There we go.
All right, Jim, on to surveys. Our friend David sends in a question for DVC members about possible future benefits. And there's 2 pages of them here, but I just wanted to go through a couple of them. So one of them would be expanded food and beverage discounts. And the question that Disney is asking is, would this improve the DVC ownership experience on a scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree? So I'll just go through them real quick, and then we'll talk about the interesting ones.
Okay.
Expanded food and bev discounts, DVC Resort Lounge complimentary beverages, Disneyland Lounge character experiences, Alani event priority access or seating, membership Magic Beyond exchange for points, access to travel lounges through a program such as Priority Pass, and I have Priority Pass and I love it. Owners lockers, Walt Disney World Resort, and I think that's interesting because that's a third party.
Okay.
Discount travel insurance, Disney Cruise Line complimentary beverage, Disney Cruise Line complimentary popcorn, and then Disneyland Magic Key Pass exchange for points.
Well, look, we've talked on this program about Disney fans and, a sense of false entitlement, that sort of thing. But the thing of DVC members is they have real entitlement.
They have a mortgage. Yeah.
That they paid in. So, something like this where it's the notion of, okay, let's put some things on the table here. Let's see what people respond to, because they're not feeling a whole lot of love lately.
Right.
So, I love that they're even considering this.
Yeah, I really like it too. The last 2 things, Disneyland Magic Key Pass exchange for points. One of them is at a 70-point level, and one is at a 100-point level, and gets you different types of passes and benefits. But yeah, that's really interesting. I love that they're looking for different ways to either enhance the existing program or to be able to trade points for different things. In a lot of ways, I like a flexible point system like that. My big question is it's the exchange rates that you always have to worry about, because there's either nothing's a good deal or everyone focuses on arbitrage, right? And a Disney vacation already includes a lot of math. I don't know how appealing that's going to be. Maybe to DVC people it is, though.
Okay.
All right, on to listener questions, Jim. From Jacob, in response to a news item we did in May on the best day of the week to visit the Magic Kingdom. Says, I'm planning a trip to Europa Park in Germany. Europe's second busiest theme park. I'm sure this will shock you coming from a Disney Dish listener, but I've been obsessing over Europa Park statistics. If your fun hasn't been mathematically optimized, is it really fun? I love that, Jacob. Thank you. But Jacob says, I noticed that Tuesdays are the busiest weekdays at Europa Park. I assume this was some weird reflection of German culture, and they probably had a 16-syllable word that means the melancholy nature of Tuesdays that demands a trip to a theme park, like Die Statzen theme park schmerz. We've all felt it. But why would Tuesdays be busier than Mondays and Fridays at theme parks in two different parts of the world? And I was like, a busy Tuesday isn't what you would guess off the top of your head. The interesting thing is the best day for the other Walt Disney World parks seems to be Wednesdays in general, no matter the time of year. So fewer people go to the parks on Wednesday. And maybe there's a German word for the day after we visited a theme park to rid ourselves of the melancholy spirit. Like, I'm sure there's a Grimm's fairy tale here about this, complete with children stuffed into kitchen appliances and some historically racist lead character. Like, I don't know. If anyone has any ideas, let me and Jacob know.
Please.
Oh, fine. All right. Also, Ray and Jean both wrote in separately explaining why a 7-ounce filet costs $48 at Steakhouse 71 and $65 at Yachtsman. They both pointed out that Steakhouse 71 is a 1-credit restaurant on the Disney dining plan, and Yachtsman is 2. Also, Gene ate there a little over a year ago and says the filet might be select. It's definitely not prime. So that probably has something to do with it as well.
Okay.
Anthony wrote in and said, based on what we're talking about with Bluey coming to Animal Kingdom, is there any chance that Disney adds Australia to World Showcase to have a Bluey meet and greet there? And Jim, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but as a reminder to listeners, and I put links in the show notes, we did 2 shows on what we suspect were Disney's plans to build a park in Australia back in the late 1990s to capitalize on the Sydney Olympics in the year 2000. And I put links to the 2-part show in the show notes. But Jim, what do you think?
Well, we were just talking about Dick Nunes and September of 1982. This is literally a month before Epcot opens. And Dick does an interview with the folks who run the Eyes and Ears, and that's the cast member newspaper for everybody who works at Walt Disney World. And they asked, well, Dick, what's coming after this? And said, well, we have plans for a second lagoon. And, the idea was that behind the American Adventure, they would create a smaller lagoon that would have room for an additional 6 countries. And this is, with the notion that they had already lined up 3, what was it? Spain was coming, Israel was coming, Africa. They had the signs up around World Showcase about, these countries were coming. So Dick was talking about smaller lagoon behind American Adventure. But what was going to serve as the anchor for that lagoon was not only an Australian pavilion, but this was going to come with a hotel. Oh. So you could have, not only visited the Australian pavilion at Epcot, but you could have stayed at the adjacent Australian-themed hotel. And just... But again, Epcot opened and didn't make its financial or per capita spending projections, and we saw what happened as those dominoes began to fall, and by '84, Eisner's in place, and that's a whole nother story.
I think for any country to get added to World Showcase now is going to have to include a substantial commitment from the government itself, but also Disney will probably not add Western European countries because we've got enough of those already. They're looking to diversify the portfolio of cultures that are represented in World Showcase, and rightfully so, right? So now it's like countries that aren't in Western Europe that can afford X millions of dollars a year in sponsorship for 10 years. That kind of gets narrowed down, right?
It does. It's a very small list.
All right. Speaking of Epcot and development, here's an email from Alexa who says, as a professor who's on summer break and therefore only, in quotes, doing summer research into course redesign, I've had more time to dive into my recreational topics of Disney and logistics. One specific brain bugaboo: could a resort be built along the already existing Epcot monorail loop? It's bugging my brain that there are no hotels along this track, and I've tried to look into it. What do you think? All right. So, Jim, I did some research on this, and I sent an email back to Alexa. But basically, Disney needs a couple of things in order to build a hotel along the Epcot monorail loop. The first thing is land that is suitable for development. And the second thing is guests who want to stay there.
Yep.
So let's talk about land suitability. Disney World's land use suitability is described in the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District's 2045 Comprehensive Plan. Not only do I have a link to that in the show notes, but I copied and pasted the appropriate graph, the visual aid there. Page 2A-13, which is shown in the show notes. The number 11 in that graph is the middle of Seven Seas Lagoon, just south of the Magic Kingdom. And then the number 30 in the bottom right is World Showcase Lagoon. So just so we know what we're looking at there. The road between the two parks is World Drive, and the monorail runs parallel to that for a lot of the path between the two parks. The brown areas in the land use diagram are mixed use and can be built upon. The dark green areas are set aside for conservation. Conservation areas can be developed, but sometimes require offsetting amounts of land to be set aside somewhere else for conservation in return. But Jim, it does look like that a lot of the land along the monorail is mixed use and can be developed. So that's not the barrier, right? Let's also set aside for a minute the logistics of running electrical and plumbing to that stretch of road where nothing currently exists because everything's possible with enough time and money, right? The next question is whether guests would want to stay there, right? All right. So let's talk about guest demand for hotels for a second. Disney sets higher prices for its hotels compared to offsite hotels of comparable quality because Disney knows that Disney's hotels are closer to the parks. And we see that consistently in our own unofficial guide and touring plan survey responses that ask readers to rank what's important to them when choosing a hotel. And I'm sure Disney sees it too, right? My guess is, and I think we said this on the show, Disney charges a premium of 25 to 40% of the hotel's nightly rate just because it's on Disney World property and close to a hotel, right? So a hotel along World Drive doesn't have a park within walking distance, so it's not going to be as attractive to guests as one that does. The hotel would really have to be within walking distance of Epcot to be considered. And Jim, we've had this conversation with our friend Jim Schull, haven't we?
We have.
What has Jim said about this?
Well, Jim talked about just the notion of, this is something that they have kicked the tires on.
Right.
Was it when Chapek was in charge? That this
was very recently. So yeah. So my understanding, well, I don't know. It may have been the end of the Chapek era, but it might have been more recent than that.
Okay.
Because the last I heard from Schull was that when Epic Universe opened up Helios on the grounds of Epic Universe, that spurred Disney to look again at plans for an Epcot adjacent hotel. And Jim, I put in the show notes if you want to look at the photograph, the area in which Jim Schull thinks would be appropriate for an Epcot hotel. And the thing that Jim said was the design hook was having a hotel that the monorail ran through in Epcot.
And that gets challenging because you don't necessarily want to reroute the monorail. You if anything, you sort of want to take advantage of, the route as it exists today. Yeah. And you heard the same things I heard about. Relatively recently, they were eyeballing doing a hotel that would have sort of hugged the living seas, right? I mean, the notion of it would have been built on top of the bus parking that exists there. And to be honest, paying attention to this project, me personally, I forgot about the monorail component. I was more intrigued about how low-slung this hotel was supposed to be because, of course, they didn't want to necessarily disrupt Epcot's sightlines, that sort of thing. But at the same time, the notion was they wanted it in this part of the park.
Yeah, front of the park. We're talking front of the park here.
Front of the park. And, and that was largely because of what was already in the works at that point, redoing Future World as World Nature, World Celebration, and World Discovery. Is that the
Nature, Discovery, and Celebration? Yeah.
Yeah, but, remember, the whole conceit of that was the party, so to speak, that World Showcase has become with all of its open, with its show kitchens and, the food that you can buy at Food and Wine and Flower and Garden.
Right.
The company was making a deliberate effort to push those now forward and put them out in World Celebration, World Discovery, World Nature. And this hotel would be part part of that. Hey, come to Epcot, you can party, and then your hotel is 100 yards away.
Exactly. So for context for our listeners, I put an aerial photograph of the front part of Epcot in the show notes, and I drew an orange rectangle that encompasses the bus parking lot, as you mentioned, and a little bit of the existing parking structure, but also it also includes the monorail station at the front of the park. And I note that the area in that rectangle is roughly 640,000 square feet. It's like 1,600 by 400, give or take. And that is much, much larger than, just for comparison, the Beach Club and Villas on the other side of the park. And, Jim, I want to point out to Alexa that they've already got parking, electrical, water, and transportation set up there. Right. So it seems like the biggest issue would be, besides building around the monorail, is that the Epcot main gate entrance would have to be relocated during construction.
It would.
But Jim, I'm just saying, if we all have to walk into the park from behind the scenes, or God forbid, the wonders of life, we could all see our way to doing that, right?
No. I mean, it would be basically a year and a half of misery during that period.
But imagine walking in through Wonders of Life and having that set up as like a retail/food court. Who objects to that?
No. And just want to remind folks here, especially those at Disney who are suddenly writing down notes, that check should go to Mr. Testa. That's a genius idea, Len, right there.
I'm going to be really surprised if Disney does not announce either a Magic Kingdom or Epcot park-adjacent hotel at a D23 event between now and 2030. I will be very, very surprised if that doesn't happen. We'll see.
We have come close in the past, and certainly, and remember who's in charge now, Mr. Tomorrow, who came out of parks. I too would be very surprised that this doesn't go forward.
All right, two quick other notes. One is from our friend Christina, obviously, who says, the guys from Command Performance that play in the UK Pavilion during the day are also the same folk that make up the group the M80s. They're also known as the Hooligans and the Fly Guys. Each band name represents different types of music, and they're all playing at each of the beat for food and wine. So the Fly Guys perform September 8th, 9th, and 10th. The M80s November 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then the Hooligans November 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. So it's the same band playing 7 of the 16 performance days in November. That's they're getting quite a workout there.
Wow. Okay. So I hope they remember to change costumes between gigs.
I tell people all the time, I don't know what it's like to be a professional athlete. I'm good at computer science, right? And I know what it's like to be good in computer science. The ability to do all of those different styles of music is almost incomprehensible to my brain. Those guys are super, super talented, and you should go see them. The ability to play those different kinds of music, changing them every night, and knowing the set list and playing them as well as they play them is really amazing talent for me.
No, absolutely.
And then speaking of music, Jim, Ryan sends in a request for you to research Disneyland's Magic Music Days. And Ryan says, I first went to Disneyland in 7th grade with my middle school band while living in Northern California. We got to play in Carnation Plaza. We selected some assorted Disney classics to play. The highlight was going backstage behind Toontown with our instruments and working with someone at Disney leading us through the music from movies that we got to see as the score of a Disney film, just like the professional orchestras do when recording music. There you go. That sounds like a lot of fun. We should do that.
Oh, well, speaking of which, I recently acquired a book, Music, Mayhem, and the Mouse. This is Stanford Free's memoir. In fact, the subtitle, and you'll love, My Too Bizarre Life. This is a guy who worked in music at Disney for 45 years. So let me lean into this and see what I can find.
Fantastic. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim continues our look at Imagineering's work on living creatures in the park. We'll be right back.
Fourth of July savings are happening now at the Home Depot with select appliances starting at $398. Plus, get free delivery on appliance purchases of $398 or more, no membership required. Upgrade your kitchen with a modern and sleek GE Profile refrigerator featuring hands-free autofill for the perfect pour every time. And make laundry day easier with 2-in-1 washer-dryer combo innovation that completes laundry in about 90 minutes. Shop top brand appliances now at the Home Depot. Offer valid June 17th to July 8th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get The best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
This summer, Prime Video takes you back before Legally Blonde, before law school, and into the world of Elle Woods in high school. Set in 1995, this Gemini vegetarian knows exactly who she is until her family moves from Bel Air to Seattle. Packed with iconic fashion, 90s nostalgia, and a throwback soundtrack, Elle proves one thing. Law school was hard. High school was harder. From the world of Legally Blonde, watch Elle, a new original series only on Prime Video July 1st.
And we're back. All right, Jim, I note that when we started our segment last week, we got a question from Connor. He says, after your segment on Lucky the Dinosaur and Dinotopia, did Lucky ever visit Walt Disney Studios Park, where a set from Dinotopia was one of the main highlights of the studio tram tour, along with Catastrophe Canyon and a set from Reign of Fire? So, Jim, is there a relationship between Dinotopia and other stuff?
Well, yeah, no, interesting you say this, because we also got a note from Steel Driver. In fact, he starts off his email to the two of us line by saying, I'm sure you've already gotten a few other emails about this, but Dinotopia did at one point appear in a Disney park. I used to see many props from this mini-series on that terrible backlot tour, at Walt Disney Studios Park.
Did you ever do that tour when it was that bad? Because I did.
Well, it was one of these things where it's like, oh, what was that horrible Disney movie about when dragons came to life and burned down London?
Was it Reign of Fire?
Reign of Fire, yes.
Yeah.
I still remember that, you would come around the corner and you come to a burned out London, and it was just, but they weren't willing to spend money to do an actual dragon. You just would pass a hole in the ground, you'd hear a roar, and then there'd be a gout of flame.
That was the thing. There were no physical props or effects. It was all done in the audio narration of the tram tour. And it wasn't even like 3D binaural sound. It was just coming from the tinny speaker at the top of the ride vehicle. I remember riding this with some Americans who were also that I didn't know, and you could hear them saying, like, expressing basically disbelief, like, what's going on here? What is this?
Yeah. Well, again, just to be clear, folks, Walt Disney Studios Park, when it opened in March of 2002. Again, they did have their version of the tram ride. It was called, in fact, it was called a very imaginative name, Studio Tram Tour Behind the Magic, and narrated by Jeremy Irons. And over the course of this 20-minute long experience, you did roll past some sets and props from the Dinotopia miniseries, and. Just to be specific here, you rolled past the set for Waterfall City, which is a famous setting from James Gurney's Dinotopia books. And Len, when they were making the miniseries back in the late summer, early fall of 2001, they actually built a 5-acre version of Waterfall City. This was over at Pinewood Studios in England. Another thing that's important here is, and Disney was very excited to get these sets because, well, first of all, this movie had been shot in Europe rather than over in Hollywood. And that then played into Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris's creative conceit that, while movies and TV are made in this part of the world as well, not just in Southern California, which is why Disney building a studio park in France makes sense. No, this is not a desperate...
I got the tie-in. Yeah, we're not desperate.
No, we're not cashing in on the success of Disney MGM, which, by the way, opened 12 years earlier in May of '89. Of course, that argument immediately falls apart when you roll around the corner and what's the big set piece for the tram tour Behind the Magic, but a clone of Florida's Catastrophe Canyon. But anyway, Len, all right, so this mini-series, the Dinotopia thing, by the way, $85 million. That was the most money that had been spent on a television miniseries up until that time.
Really?
So, as soon as production is completed on this Hallmark Entertainment project, the sets for Waterfall City are packed up and shipped over to Disneyland, the Disneyland Paris Resort, where they're reassembled on site along the proposed route of this theme park's, studio tram tour behind the magic. Another thing that's important to understand about this project, the Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris, that just like DCA, which, by the way, had opened in February of the previous year, 2001, this was a theme park that had been built on a shoestring budget.
Again, no theme park is ever ready for its opening day.
But it's so much tougher when you were working with a teeny tiny budget. And so at the start, there just was no money to build, for example, a nice set piece like New York Street or Streets of America. Sure. So the Imagineers, as they're building Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris, when they learned that Dinotopia, the miniseries, is wrapping production, and it's over in the UK, and there are sets that this theme park can basically have for free, they're like, send them over. Now,
exactly.
And the production team's like, oh, okay, well, do you want to tell us what sets we've got that are specifically available, how they were used in production for Dinosaur the miniseries? And the Imagineers are like, no, for all we care.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. What?
Where the dinosaurs went on their smoke break between shots, just send it. Just put it in the shipping container, send it across the English Channel. We need it yesterday.
And here's the interesting thing, right? Because the Studios Park opens in Paris, but Disney MGM Studios already exists. So Disney fans have something to compare it to, right?
They do. And at the same time, the timing got a little weird. I mean, you have to remember, Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris opens March 16th, 2002. Whereas, Len, the first installment of this 3-part Dinotopia miniseries thing doesn't debut on ABC. And by the way, that's over in the States till May 12th of that same year. So it's 2 months later. So all right. So if you went to, Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris, did the tram tour during those 2 months, you are literally driving through a coming attraction. You're looking at sets for a miniseries that has yet to go on the air.
I mean, you could spin that as a sneak peek, as a preview.
You could.
I mean, it's only 2 months too, and I think probably will live for 10 years. So what's 2 months? I kind of get that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, but it's just the sets, Len. It's not. I mean, for example, Jim Henson's Creature Shop actually did the animatronic dinosaurs for this thing, and it's like, no, you can't have those, but you can have the sets.
Oh, but nobody knows what they're looking at because they don't understand the story.
There we go.
Oh, so they're trying to interpret what the miniseries might be about by just looking at static props with no animatronics. I mean, they're the French. They could figure it out. The French understand mine. How do they not understand this? So what?
There we go.
Introducing Taco Bell's new jalapeno citrus salsa. With bright citrus, real red jalapenos, guajillo chiles. Usually, you add sauce to the food, but when the sauce is this good, the food is just there to get the sauce to your mouth. That rolled quesadilla, not a rolled quesadilla anymore. Now it's a sauce shovel. Taco Bell's jalapeno citrus salsa. Get it with any item on the Cantina chicken menu while it's here. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only. While supplies last. Contact store for availability.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You know those friends who support your preference for podcasts over music on road trips? That's the energy State Farm brings to insurance. With over 19,000 local agents, they help you find the coverage that fits your needs. So you can spend less time worrying about insurance and more time enjoying the ride. Download the State Farm app or go online at statefarm.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
I am one of Motunui.
On July 10th.
Maui, you will board my boat and restore the heart of Te Fiti.
And here we go. The journey begins.
See her light up the night in the sea. She calls me.
The ocean chose you.
Let's go save the world.
I got your back, chosen one. Disney's Moana.
Boat snack. His name is Hey Hey.
His name is Yum Yum when he goes in my tum-tum. In theaters July 10th. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
The other thing I love about this story is that the day that the first installment airs on ABC, the network hasn't even seen the ratings at this point, but they on that day, they decide, okay, we're going to series with this. Really? And they immediately order 7 scripts for TV series. Yeah. But at the same time, they have, this thing was the most expensive thing that had ever been done as a miniseries. And, out of one side of the month, we love this. We want to go to series. By the way, it's too expensive. You can't shoot again in the UK. Find someplace cheaper to shoot this, which turns out to be Budapest, which, by the way, the poor people in Budapest were like, oh, so this is mostly set in Waterfall City. Can we have that set? And it's like, well, no, it's in Paris at the site of the tram tour.
Oh, darn the luck.
Yeah, but anyway, interesting thing, this survives.
It goes in when? It goes in 2002.
Yeah.
I was there in 2012 and it was still there.
And in fact, it hung in there till January of 2020,
whereupon
it shut down and got reimagined as a World of Pixar attraction. I want to say today it's known as Cars Road Trip. And by the way, the grand finale of this thing is still Catastrophe Canyon.
All right.
Yeah, only, Len, now it gets a little more interesting because now when the earthquake breaks out and the oil rig explodes in flame, there's a truck that now has eyes and a face that's like, hey, oh no, I'm about to burst into flames.
That's got to be traumatic for kids. What are they doing there? That's kind of crazy.
No, the emotional stakes have changed.
I guess. Yeah. All right.
But again, that's another living character thing. And by the way, we'll continue this living character story with next week's installment, getting into, do you remember Pixar Place at Disney's Hollywood Studios? Because the Luxo lamp alone there, Len, is a fascinating story.
I remember you and I walking through the park and saying something about the Luxo lamp to Jim Schull, and he got that 10,000-yard stare in his eyes.
Yep.
And I think for like a brief second, he went to a dark place mentally before coming back. We'll talk about that on the next show.
We will.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for the show today. You can help support our show by subscribing over at patreon.com/JimHillMedia, where our latest exclusive show is a walk around Disneyland in 99-degree heat. There's a link in the show notes. Universal Kids is opened, as we said, and friend of the show, Jim Schull, gives his honest review of the new park aimed at kids, along with his list of what works, what doesn't, and the needed fixes. On the latest episode of Disney Journey, click on the link in the show notes to watch the video. On next week's show, Jim and I continue the history of Disney's Living Character Initiative. You can find more of Jim at jimhillmedia.com and more of me, Len, at touringplans.com. Also check out The Case For with Chris Cox, the podcast where Chris, Jim, and I debate one theme park topic at a time, and you get to vote on who's right. We're produced spectacularly by Eric Hersey and David Gray, stage names DJ Cheesy Bread and MC Listerine, spinning the 1 and 2 at the 28th Annual North Quabbin Garlic and Arts Festival, September 26th and 27th at Forster Farm, that's on Chestnut Hill Road, in beautiful historic Orange, Massachusetts. While Eric and David are doing that, please go into iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Isabella, Jim, this is Len. We will see you on the next show.